Hi everyone. So in this video we are going to talk about Zustand as state manager that is a great alternative to Redux. So why do we need a state manager? In a typical React application we have multiple components and these components need to share data across the application. So how do we do this on a React application? You can use the use state hook and you will need to declare it on the component that is parent of all the components that want to share that data. For example, on our e-commerce application, we want to store the cart state. And we also want to be able to send a product from the add to cart button to the state. So which is the parent component? Well, in our application that we have here, this is the parent component that shares all of the components where we want the state to be available, which is the add to cart button, which is the discount based on cart, which is the total. As you know, we have a setter and a getter in our use state hook. So this setter is going to be necessary to send it through all of these components. We pass it as a prop. And then here we have the set cart. Let's say we named it like this. And when we click the button, we execute the set cart function and we pass the product. The product data will go through all of these components and then it's gonna be updated into the state cart. Because this product cart could be 5 of them, maybe 10 of them, maybe hundreds, because we don't know what kind of e-commerce store we have. And then when we send the data to the state here, we have it now available as a prop of the getter, which is cart. And then we can list the products on the cart. We can do the calculation of the total amount of money that we are going to pay for all the products on the cart. And we also be able to send the cart, and we are going to calculate the discount based on cart. So this leads us to a lot of issues. The first one is prop drilling. Well, as you see, we have to pass the cart state through numerous components, and that becomes unwieldy. The state needs to be in a component that is parent of all of the components that need to share that state. And this is bloated. This is unmaintainable. Then we have synchronization issues. If something doesn't update as we require, we're gonna have to make a lot of debugging, and it's gonna be hard to debug by passing props and props and props. You're gonna be checking 10, 15 components. This has performance problems because when we send state through many components that does not require that state, for example, in product card, we don't need the card state. On product list, we don't need it. On the main component, we don't need it. But every time that this state goes through all of these components, they will re-render. And that's a performance issue. Also, the code maintainability, well, it's going to be hard to maintain all of this because if you want to change the way you update the state, you're going to have to go through all of these components, maybe, or not, but mostly you're going to have to. How do we solve this? Well, let me clean this up for you. Okay, to solve this, what we use is what we call a centralized state. And for React, we have plenty of options, being Redux the most popular, but for this video, we are going to use Zustand, which is way easier to work with. In Zustand, all you have to do is to create a hook. We're gonna name it use cart store. And this hook is gonna have all the functions that you need to manage the state. For example, it could have add to cart, remove from cart, total, maybe. All we have to do is to go to the cart button, and then first we call the use cart store, and then we use the add to cart function. So what this will do is that you take the product and add it to the cart, and then you have it available here. You don't need to go through all of these components. All you have to do is to import the hook, send it to the cart store, and then you have it available. And then on the cart, you get the items. Let's say let's name it products. Type here, products. But for that, you need to call the use cart store hook, and then you get the products from here. It's also available from the cart store. That way you can simply list all the products that you have on the store. Then you get the total from the store. You have the total from the hook, directly from the hook, and then the discount based on cart. And maybe you have a helper function here, anyways, depending on your architecture, and you get it from the cart store. So as you can see, anywhere where you need the state, all you have to do is to call a hook, and that's it. So, what is Zustand and why are we choosing Zustand? Well, Zustand is a very lightweight state management library for React applications, and it provides a very intuitive way to create global state stores without the complexity of some other state management solutions like Redux. The key advantage of Zustand includes that it's very simple. It has very minimal boilerplate you will see once we implement it, and it has a very straightforward API that is easy to learn and implement. It's very small, around 3 kilobytes versus the 20 kilobytes of Redux, around ish. It has a hook based approach. That means that you can just create a hook and use it wherever you want on your application. And you don't need to use providers like Context API or Redux because, as I mentioned, the only thing that you have to do is to call the hook and then you have the state on that component. It has a very flexible middleware system because it supports middleware for extending functionality like persistent, DevTools, etc. For this application, we will use TypeScript. Sustan is built with full TypeScript support, so we won't have any issue implementing it with TypeScript. Okay, without further ado, let's begin creating our state on our application. I have already created a small application. I created it with Vite, and it's a very simple application that will resemble an e-commerce store. As you can see, it has a header, it has a cart, and it has products. The cart is a drawer. It's just an example application with limited functionality. It's just created to show how Zustand works. It's not working, as you can see. You don't get any of the products on the cart, but we will fix that by adding Zustand. So let's go to the documentation to see how we get started with Zustand. First, we need to install it. I am using Yarn, but you can use npm. All right. So after installing it, we need to create a hook because as Zustand works is that you create stores by creating hooks. So let's begin creating a hook. Here we have our stores folder. Start store. Wait, we will import. Let's copy this and change it as we need it. Use cart store. Okay, since we are using TypeScript, we will begin by defining an interface. And on this interface, we need items. And these items are going to be products. By the way, we have a set of products here just for demo. Where is it? Dummy data. Okay, so our products consist on an ID, a name, a price, and an image, which is just a placeholder image. So these products come from this dummy data. For these products, we have a type, which is the product type. So now in that, our items are an array of products. We need to import it. Product card, product list, product. Types. Great. And we need a way to add products to the cart. This is going to be a function that will accept the product and it will return void. We also need a way to remove from the cart. So what we are doing here is creating an interface for our cart store. And this will define what options we have with our store. This is a function that we will use to add products to the cart, to add products to the store of the cart. And this is a function that we will use to remove products from the cart store. So in the example that Zustand gives us, we have something very similar. So here our items are the vares here, and increased population could be our add to cart, and removal vares is just moving all the vares, update vares, creating a new set of vares and replacing the old one. So we need to update this. So our items is going to be now an empty array. This is how we initialize it. That means that when we initialize the store, whatever you put here is going to be the first state of the store. By the way, this is an object. So you use the create function and then you cast your interface, a set parameter that will return an object with the state. So let's begin by adding our add to cart function. That will accept product as we mentioned on our types. And then inside our function, we will call the set function that will accept another callback. And that will have a parameter called state, where you can access the previous state before updating the state. Now, for now, we will not update the state. We want to finish adding our functions. Okay, we don't want to return the items, we want to return the state because that's what it does expect. Fine, then we export our hook. Great. Now we want to, instead of returning the state, because this will never change the state, we want to take the product and add it to the array of items. But for that, we first need to check if the product already exists in the cart. For that, I already have some code written for the simplicity and speed of the video. So first we will need to check if it does exist. If it does exist, we will add it to the state. So as I mentioned, we take the state from here, which is the previous state, and then we check if the product that we are passing here exists on this array. And if it does exist, we will not add it. We will just return the state as it is. If it's not on the array, we will return a new object where we will spread the previous state items and we will add the new product. So this will cause the array of the items grow by now containing the product that we passed here. So why don't we test this one and then we come to this one later. Okay, then let's go to our drawer component because we want to show the items. We want to pull the items from the state and show it on the cart. So let's go to the cart drawer and let's import this hook. And then let's get the items from this hook. So items are these. It could be called however you want. Let's say you want to add parts, or you want to add fruits, or you want to add whatever you want. You can call it however you want. But we are calling it items because it is a store and we have items. You know what? Let's rename it to products so it's more understandable. But for that, we need to select them here and then change it to products and then update our type. There it is. Now it's called products. Um, Now we can use this list of products from the state whatever we want. For now, we will just display the name. We can add something more fancy later. So now, in theory, any item that is added to the store will be displayed here because this is our drawer content. But for that, we need to add products. So let's go to the product card. We have a button here. We have to import our used card store. And we need to get our to cart function. Mhm. Oh, we have this here. That's why it was causing the error. And now we have our add to cart function available, and we need to pass a product there. We need to add a product there when we call it. So we will create a new function called handle add to cart. That we will execute and click here. And then we will pass our product here. Okay, let's test it out. Let's click here, and then let's click here, and let's click here. There we are. Now our store contains all of the items that are being added through add to cart. Let's show them as JSON. Mhm. Oh, it's not items, it's products. As you can see, we have all of these products here. We have the array of objects, and then let's make them look a little bit more fancy, and then let's add the option to delete them from the cart. We don't need this anymore. And I already have something built here. Oh, and don't forget to use the keys here. And as you can see, we have our remove from cart here, but we need to add it, right? But it is as simple as getting it from the use cart store hook. And as you can see, the remove from cart is now here on this button. So when we click it, it will remove it from the cart, or that is what we expect. Let's test it out. We emptied the state by refreshing the application. Let's add this one and this one and this one and this one. There we are. And now if we click remove, it should be removed in theory. Okay, it's not working. Let's see why. Oh, I know why. We need to create the logic to remove it. Okay, as I mentioned, this is the previous state. Let's filter it with the ID. So products is gonna be equal dot filter not equal to ID. And we will return the new state object. We could do something like this, but it's not necessary because we can just return it like this. Okay, let's test it out. Empty state. We add these three, and then we remove them. And it's working. So this is how easy it is to implement a state manager in a few lines of code, as you saw. It's just a matter of creating a hook and calling that hook on every component that you want to access that state. And since it's a hook, you can add whatever you want. You can make it as complex as you need and still taking advantage of the simplicity of Zustand. So that's it for today. Don't forget to hit the like button if this video was useful for you, and also subscribe if you don't want to miss any new videos. Thank you so much.